Hello everyone, welcome to the Geoecologist and a happy Earth Day to all of you. So in today's session, we are going to talk about international cooperation on environment and ecology. So environment and ecology becomes the integral part of our Earth system science. Whenever we are talking our concern in terms of environment and ecology, we always talk about the integrated approach. So this approach is talking about international cooperation. It means it's a global approach. So today we are going to talk about the global approach regarding what have we done till now. So let's go further and see the conceptual part of it and also the chronology of it till now. Alright. So the first thing that we need to understand is the concept of the Earth as Mother Earth, and then the humankind that has done the entire process associated to this Mother Earth in a way where it feeds on the Mother Earth as well and also has an exploitative nature at the same time. So we are going to look at the dichotomy as well, but first let's consider the concept. So the concept of the Earth as a Mother Earth is coming from the storehouse of the ancient knowledge, that is the Vedic hymn to the Earth, the Prithvi Sukta, that comes in Atharva Ved, and it is unquestionably the oldest and most evocative environmental invocation. So in Prithvi Sukta, the Vedic seer solemnly declares that Earth is our mother. So the Sanskrit phrase for that is Mata Bhumi. So basically the Sukta says Mata Bhumi Putroham Prithivya. It means Earth is my mother and I am her son. So here is the beginning of the concept of Earth as a home of humankind and Earth as a Mother Earth. So in today's session, looking at this conceptual paradigm, let's go further and look at it through historical understanding of what have we done towards the betterment of our environment and ecology, towards betterment of our Mother Earth till now. So for that, we need to understand that international cooperation is a must, and international cooperations have been there in vogue since almost 50 to 70 years. So post Second World War, when the entire world was dilapidated and destroyed, the restructuring was going on. So we had lots of environmental issues, and it took almost 20 years of reasoning out, understanding, research to get into a common platform. And then we started off with conferences, conventions, protocols. So before moving further, let's understand the concept of these words that I said. Conference. So conferencing, basically consulting by sitting together formally. So it's type of a negotiation on a broader theme. Then convention. It is a meeting or gathering basically where we formulate or deliberate on specific principles, we frame guidelines. So that is where the convention comes in the picture. And a protocol is basically an agreement where negotiators sit, they formulate agreement, they sign those agreements which can have specific aim and also legal obligation. So these are the basic understanding of a protocol, a convention, a conference. That is part of our international cooperation for the Earth as a home of humankind that we are going to talk today. So a protocol is basically called amongst various countries who are signatory of the original convention when a conference is organized. So first a conference is organized where conventions can be made, and later on it can be deliberated and made into a protocol. So this is how it operates. So there is a very thin line of difference many a times, and these words you will come across in daily life where they have interchangeable usage, right? So let's look at that further and understand that there are two major organizations, if we say. So one is IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, and the other is United Nations itself, United Nations Organization. So they are responsible for making international laws or conventions across the globe. It means they play a pivotal role for this international cooperation, right? So that is must to be known. And now when we come to the post-World Wars era, right? So in post-World War era, about 20 years later, in about 1965, the Club of Rome became very much important. So what was Club of Rome? it was basically a congregation, an agglomeration of hundreds of scientists, social thinkers, researchers, philosophers who created to address the multiple crises that was faced by humanity, and it was pertinent that humanity would face certain crises. So what happened? They examined the 5 basic factors: population, agriculture, non-renewable resource depletion, industrial output, and pollution. So these 5 factors were analyzed by the Club of Rome, and they came out with a report that is famously known as Meadows and Meadows report of Club of Rome, which was published finally in 1972. So it was the first report, and its name was Limits to Growth. So in that report, it was shown that the world is going to end if it is going to remain in the same pace of resource consumption. So the recklessness of resource consumption in the name of development was so much growing that the Limits to Growth pointed out at all those issues and challenges that was supposed to be faced by humanity in the just coming 30 years. So what happened? It provided an impetus for the understanding, for a discussion, right? For a creation of at least a meeting, a conference. So what happened? There were numerous conferences from 1970s to till now have been happening every year. So in last 50 years, we had several conferences and world level meetings, conventions, protocols that we have been doing, that was initially triggered by the report that is Limits to Growth from Club of Rome. So first of all, we'll be looking at the chronology of the events, right? And then we'll discuss certain important events of that entire set of events from 1970s to 2016. So let's look at the chronology. So in 1971, Ramsar Convention on Wetland happened. So Ramsar Convention on Wetland Protection happened. Then Stockholm Conference in 1972 happened. That was adjoining the same time the Club of Rome report, right? Then in 1972 also the Convention on Protection of World Cultural and Natural Heritage were happening. So Convention on International Trade and Endangered Species was in 1973. So if you remember, later on in 1973 in India also we adopted Operation Save Tiger and so many other, right? 1973 onwards if you see. Then what happened? In 1979 we had a convention on migratory species of wild animals. Then in 80 we had World Conservation Strategy. 82 the very famous Nairobi Declaration, just after 10 years of the 1972 Stockholm. So that was a Nairobi Declaration. Then in 82 also World Charter of Nature happened. Then in 85 the very famous Vienna Convention for ozone layer came to picture for the first time. So this is where the ozone depletion concept, emission concept, these start with Vienna Convention, right? Then 87 Montreal Protocol. So it was basically for ozone depleting substances because earlier it was cited in Vienna in 85. Then Helsinki Declaration. Then basically Convention on Hazardous Wastes. So it was Basel Convention. Then Earth Summit, the most famous and the landmark of all is 1992, the Rio Earth Summit, which also marked the UNFCCC, the Framework for Climate Change in 92. Then Biological Diversity Convention, then again the same in 1992. So these major things started in 90s. In 92, the world was changing, the technology changed, India changed. So what happened? In 1992, we had this entire millennium of disasters also. So next 10 years was considered, 1990 to 2000 was considered the millennium of disaster. So it was studied, it was given a more of weightage in India. Then UN Convention on Desertification in 94, Kyoto Protocol, the very famous, that was in 97, Stockholm Convention for Organic Pollutants. Remember, this is very much important, 2000. Then Joburg Declaration, the very famous biodiversity, 2002. Then the World Summit again happened in UN, so 2005, Bali Summit in 2007, UN Conference on Sustainable Development 2012, where all those sustainable development goals that we talk today are formed, right? And then the latest one was the Paris Agreement. So we are talking of a 50 years of the history. So when Earth Day was first celebrated in US, it was in 1970. So almost we are covering the entire journey of what we have done in actually celebrating this Earth Day through all these conventions, the sequence of conventions that we looked at today. right? So we are going to pick and choose certain conventions, protocols, and also the conferences or summits from these entire list, and we are going to talk about what did we do in them, what were the major points of discussion. So let's go with the Ramsar Convention. So it was there in 1971 in Iranian city of Ramsar. After UNESCO, the convention's depository received instrument of accession from all the countries. So what happened? The Ramsar Convention happened for the protection of the wetlands around the world, and then it was established in a secretariat in IUCN, that is in Switzerland. So World Wetland Day is also celebrated on 2nd of February since 1971. And remember, there is a very interesting list of sites that are called Ramsar sites. And where do you find them? They are to be found in a record called Montreux Record. So remember, Montreux Record is the name of that list of sites that was framed in Ramsar Convention. So India also has numerous sites, and the entire world has many sites declared under Ramsar Convention, which have a protective measures being taken under that convention. Now, 1972, the first important meeting of the world leaders happened here in 1972 in Stockholm, which is also known as United Nations Conference on Human Environment. So it had a declaration signed. That declaration is called the Declaration on Human Environment, which has 26 principles. So those principles are basically about international environmental issues, natural resource management, pollution prevention, and the relationship between environment and development. So 1972 basically steered through the entire world regarding these principles. But remember, nothing was mandatory for a country or a person to follow. So it was just a meeting where things were discussed for the first time at such a large level, right? So then later on, the next important juncture is when in 1985 in Vienna Convention, first time we talked about ozone layer depletion, which was part of the entire global process. And later on in Montreal Protocol, it was finally emphasized on the substances that deplete the ozone. So Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete ozone layer happened in 87, and it came into force in 89. So the protocol basically did what? It set targets for reducing the consumption and production of ozone depleting substances. So many a times it's also called ODS. So it was basically a protocol recognizing that all nations should be treated equally when it comes to ozone depletion production. So it was a major protocol in 87 that happened. And then the most important that we talk every day now, that is sustainable development. So that was World Commission on Environment and Development 1987, that is also sometimes called Brundtland Commission. So it was officially defined in Brundtland Commission, that is sustainable development, and the theme was our common future. So that was very much important because it was started by UN General Assembly resolution in 1983. So it was said our common future, let's decide our common future on the basis of sustainable development. And then comes the landmark United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, that was in 1992 in Rio. So that was about 20 years later of Stockholm Declaration. So we took 20 years again for such a large gathering in which about 150 countries gathered. So Rio Declaration is supposed to be one of the biggest international conference of history of international relations ever, because 150 countries participated, and that's why it is many a times referred as Parliament of the Planet. So in that, many things came up. Why it is so important? Because there are 5 important things that culminated in the adoption of UNCED, that is Rio Declaration, that was the first, which has a statement of principles to guide. So first time guidelines were written and provided. Then we had Agenda 21, which was a massive document that detailed the action plan, that how are we going to do it? What is to be done, everybody says, but how to be done? So that was first time listed in Agenda 21. Then legally non-binding principles of forestry were declared. Convention on climate change was first time declared, and Convention on biodiversity was declared. So these 5 major things happened in 1992, and it led to a larger amount of world change, worldview change in terms of protection of environment and ecology. Then Kyoto Protocol 97. It becomes one of the most important points in the history of humankind with reference to global warming. Why? Because it committed to the state parties to reduce greenhouse gases. Global warming and greenhouse gases, these became household words after Kyoto Protocol in 97. So remember, on 11 December 97 when it was adopted, it was adopted in 97 but finally forced in 2005. It came to force in 2005. So it took 8 years to come to force. And currently 192 parties are there as a part of Kyoto Protocol. Right? Then 2012, where we have our birth of Sustainable Development Goals, because the Millennium Development Goals completely shattered. We could not achieve it. So Sustainable Development Goals were born in 2012 in UN Conference on Sustainable Development. So what happened? It was the third international conference on sustainable development, and it was 10th anniversary of 2002 Johannesburg Sustainable Development Meet as well. So in this, the theme was not our common future, it was the future that we want. So it was very focused and the goals were very crafty in itself, and it was defined clearly that what are our clear-cut goals that we need to achieve in future. So what is the future that we want? So this is the major outcome of this Sustainable Development Goals part, which was again held in Rio in 2012, marking about the 72, 92 and 2012. So again the next 20 years, isn't it? So this is how we met and decided. So many times it's also called Rio plus 20 as well. Okay. Now, Paris Agreement, the last one of the last 50 years if we say so. So the Paris Agreement basically is an agreement within the UNFCCC. So United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It deals with greenhouse gas emissions and its mitigation, adaptation, financial strategies along with it. So that was very much important, and it was signed on the Earth Day in 2016, that is today, 22nd April, and 194 members have signed the treaty, out of which 131 also have ratified it. So what is the basic of this treaty? The emissions reduction efforts will be made in order to hold the increase in global temperature to below 2 degrees C by reducing emissions. So every party has to make itself in a way their emissions so that the temperature doesn't rise above 2 degrees C. We have to control it below 2 degrees C rise, right? So that is the main crux, and implementation of the agreement of all member countries together will be evaluated in every 5 years. That has been agreed in Paris Agreement. So next agreement time is going to be in 2023, very soon. So this is the entire history of 50 years of our struggle that we have seen post World War. If we say 70 years of our history of humankind, where internationally we have collaborated, but have we succeeded? That's the question. So it's a very difficult question. It is geopolitical question many times in the world, that what is the issue? Why aren't we settling to a particular cause in a particular way? So what happens many a times, people have a vested interest in economy rather than ecology, and that's where economy and ecology debate, the development and environment debate, these things will always be there because we want a sustainable future. We don't want that everybody should be developed in the same way. There has to be context of development that is important. So at the end, again today, I would again quote the Atharva Veda that says, "Let there be peace in the heavens, the earth, the atmosphere, the water, the herbs, the vegetation, among the divine beings." Okay, so this is what the Atharva Veda says. It says, let everything be at peace, and in peace only then we'll find the actual peace, the actual development, the actual relatively developed environment and ecology for which we have been striving forward. So this is my submission, that let's please pledge for the peace of the environment and ecology of which human beings are integral part. So please follow the path, like and subscribe to my channel, and also please press the bell icon for the updates. I'll be coming up with several lectures related to ecology, environment, geoecology. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks a lot. Keep learning, stay safe. Thank you so much.